You can be single, but absolutely anything, as long as your heart's right and your passion's right and your care is right. That's all that I think really matters when it comes down to fostering, because these kids need us. They need us so badly.
Hey,
Hey,
have you been having some fun, girls?
yes.
Yes. What have you been up to over the last couple of days? Anything exciting?
Well, I know what
you've
all been up to. Your fabulous play, which we're mentioning again because I'm so in love with it.
And we've got to say that Harriet is doing her play, Steel Magnolias, and
Yes.
Sherry is, I don't know, doing something interesting. We haven't heard from her for a bit. She will be returning. They will both be returning soon. But we've just had to bring some other lovely friends to chat to us. And I think it's just nice having more people, don't you?
It is. I do too. Absolutely.
Are you enjoying this, girls?
Yes, yeah.
It's
been great fun.
Good.
Just chatting with lovely people. I mean, it's the best, isn't it?
Thank you so much. Well, we've got a fabulous guest today, and I think you'll find her really, really interesting and inspiring. And it's the lovely Megan Tanner with her charity and all her other news. And the charity is called Hear Their Roar.
Wow.
Hi. Hello. Hi.
How are you today?
Welcome into our nest.
Oh, great to see you all. I have been so excited for this.
Good. Oh,
Well,
fantastic.
This is Prishenka and Natalie, who are our guest panelists for today.
Hello.
And, we are so excited to see you. Tell us, how did this all start for you, this passion to get this charity going?
Well, it started when I was 10. I stood up in front of a group of people and said, I'm going to go and start a charity. But back then it was for baby elephants. So it was kind of like, oh, she's so cute. God bless you. Go for it. You know. And then many, many years later, I was able to go to Sierra Leone with a bunch of Americans. And I just fell in love with the country and realized that while I was out there was such a need for new ideas. We're so privileged here in the UK. If we're struggling with parenting or children or anything like that, we can go to books or courses or Google, and they just didn't have these options. So I was also a foster carer and learned a lot about trauma during that time. And I just thought, everything the country has been through, everybody's in trauma. It's not just the children, it's the adults as well. So we created parenting classes, discipline ideas, loads of different courses that we can give to the community and brainstorm together to look at different options on how to look after the children over there. And it's just been amazing. I absolutely love it. But yeah, so it's all based in trauma, basically, and understanding that everybody's in trauma, the adults and the children.
Yes, and it's also because you've had, as you said, you've fostered for so many years, Megan, haven't you? And we were talking when I met you, and you were saying how fostering now is, you know, people are actually looking at there's no gender or age discrimination with foster, as long as you're the right person.
Yeah, fostering, it's been amazing. I've fostered for over a decade, 9 teenagers and 3 children, all who are highly traumatized. Just amazing, amazing bunch of kids. But that's right, I was a single carer. You can be single, but absolutely anything, as long as your heart's right and your passion's right and your care is right. That's all that I think really matters when it comes down to fostering, because these kids need us. They need us so badly.
Mm-hmm. And you say the formative years. I know I was reading about Kate Middleton. She's doing a lot of work now, isn't she, with children, saying, you know, it's really important that we communicate. And you were saying to me, the communication at certain ages is important, and the nurturing and the discipline. You know, the very strict discipline. You were saying that there are ways to do that.
Absolutely. I had a really difficult time with one child. There was a lot of child on parent violence, CPV. I don't know if you've heard of that. And it's when the child is acting out their trauma, but they're acting it out in such a way that it's super violent to the carers or the parents. And I took an MVR course, which is nonviolent resistance for parenting. Completely turns everything up on its head. It's amazing. And then from there, I trained in it post just being a parent, but to become a consultant in MVR parenting. And it's so true. Our children are talking to us with their behavior, but because sometimes we just see the behavior, we're so focused on controlling what's going on and what's happening in front of our face that we're not understanding the thoughts and the feelings behind it. And actually, if we can get to the thoughts and feelings behind it, that's where the change can happen. And it's all about connection, all about connection. And I think behavior is just an expression. It's just a communication. And it's terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying for some parents what they're living through. But generally, the way we're naturally taught to parent or normally taught to parent just doesn't necessarily work or help on creating that connection that's needed to help the child.
That's amazing.
It's really interesting. I mean, the book Emotional Intelligence, you must love that book. I mean, that's probably one of my most favorite books in the world. And I don't know if you girls have read it, but the thing I love about it, one of the things in it is about how I suppose the normal people perceive behavior, and yet the people that see through it. And I remember there's one bit, and I know you'll love this bit, Megan, it's probably one of your favorite bits too, which is when in the book there was a child that wouldn't speak. She didn't speak to anyone. She never spoke. She never ever said a word to anybody. So they thought she couldn't speak, first thing, that she had all these behavioral problems. But when she was about 4, they couldn't send her to school because she didn't say anything. And when she went to school, they found out she started to speak. She didn't talk, she didn't have anything to say. And B, she was a genius because she was an observationalist.
Yeah.
And all she did was watch people. And when somebody asked her, she knew which child did what, which child was friends with who did what with him. And when she had something to talk about, she didn't stop speaking.
Right. So speech skills were fully formed, even though she didn't speak. That's fascinating. Wow.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so incredible the way that children can just experience the world in so many different ways. But because it's not our paradigm, we think that there's something wrong or something's not right, or this is a difficult situation. But actually, like with that child, she was just, as you say, a genius. She was literally just seeing things in a different way. And I think that's what I love about the work that we do. We do so much on emotional intelligence, because if you don't have emotional intelligence, it's really hard to be regulated when stimulus comes along that you're not happy with. I think all of us have experienced in some way, shape or form flipping our lid and going, oh no, I shouldn't have done that. So emotional intelligence is so needed, especially in parenting and especially with children, for us adults to be able to see what's being presented to us and deal with it appropriately without actually, I mean, how many times do we turn around and say, I used to say all the time, like, if you don't calm down, then it's all going to go wrong. Come on, hurry up. But then when my kids were getting all stressy and heightened emotionally, I'd be like, calm down. What are you doing? But I'm showing them when things aren't going right, get all over to the top and excited. So it's that balance of being able to be emotionally intelligent adults when actually we weren't taught emotional intelligence ourselves. So I love that book. And there's a book by Dr. Mark Brackett, who's the head of EI at Yale, called Permission to Feel. And he has some great methods on how we as adults can become more emotionally intelligent, and we can teach children how to be it as well. And I think that's a lot of times when parents don't know what to do, or maybe choose not the most helpful option in disciplining or parenting. It's all coming from a space of fear or frustration. And if we can get rid of fear and frustration in our parenting, then we can be a lot more holistic in what we're doing.
Actually, tell me about, because Harry, your son, all he ever wanted to do was dance, wasn't it?
Yes, since he was tiny. If I put him on the naughty step, and I did a bit of a super nanny with me, go sit on the naughty step, I'd come out, he'd be sitting on the naughty step, and I say, right, now, have you learnt your lesson? He'd say, no, I love sitting on the naughty step because it means I can sing. And he was anything like that. He could sit there singing songs from Oliver, and he was about 2. All right, this isn't obviously working. No, actually, but it's interesting about how we behave as parents, what you were saying. Very often it stems from something that maybe you've experienced as a child, and that lack of control yourself, your child comes out in all the wrong ways, and none of us know how to be a mum.
No,
there's no magazine, or there's nothing to there's all these advice things that come out, but nobody actually gives you a rule book of what you're supposed to do and not. We have to learn as we go along, and we don't always get it right.
No,
and not try to be perfect, because we want to be perfect parents, and nobody can be, can they?
We also want to fix stuff, and sometimes you can't fix it. And one of my children, I've got a daughter and a son, they're both absolutely lovely human beings, and one of them said to me once, "You can't fix this, so all you need to do really is listen, because if you try and fix it, what you're doing is you're shutting me down." Now, this was a young teenager, so you're shutting me down, you're stopping me being able to express. And honestly, I was driving the car and I thought, oh my goodness, what a bit of advice for my own child.
Right?
You just sometimes need to listen. You can't necessarily make it better. Wow.
It's so true.
Different cultures are very different. Prashanka, you're Polish, but you were brought up in England, weren't you?
Yes. So we were brought up with Polish cultural traditions, but yes, very British in terms of my education, how I was brought up, I guess. So a mix of both. I mean, I guess, you look at the behavior of your parents and you decide what works for you and what doesn't. God rest his soul, he's no longer with us, but my father was, and he'd probably say that now, he wasn't the best of fathers.
Mine wasn't.
Never been a father. Very difficult relationship, him and my mother. I adore my mother. I mean, my mother basically did the work of 2 parents. She was a father as well as a mother in many respects. So I feel I had a great upbringing, because I had one strong parent who was there for me, which better than maybe having 2 dysfunctional ones.
Same.
Yeah, it's, I guess, coming from the other side of this, because I don't have children myself, to me what it looks like is it's always about the individuals. So yes, we just kind of go, children as a big group, but they're a group of individuals, and like with any relationship, you have to feel your way with that separate human being, who may be a tiny separate human being, but a human being with their own character.
When I was going through, I don't know what was happening, but I went to see a counsellor. I think, perhaps my marriage was ending or in some sort of trouble. And we started to go through my childhood, which is the first time I've really gone through it. And I started to talk about my mum, I lived with my grandparents, my father died, this, the other. And my mother sent me to boarding school when I was 11. And I was, because I spoke to this counsellor about it, and he said, well, how do you feel about that? And I said, I'm really upset about it. So I went to my mum and I started to get angry with her. Why did you do this? Why did you do that? Why did you do this? Why did you do that? Really let it rip. And she looked at me and she said, because I didn't know what else to do. And at that moment, I felt so cruel, because she said, I didn't know how else to behave.
So true.
I think as a child, or even talking about your childhood, you blame your parents, but it wasn't her fault. She didn't know what else to do.
So true. We work out of what we know, don't we? Everything we really do is from what we've learned or been taught or experienced ourselves. And so we really all are only doing the best we can with the tools we have. And I think that's one thing about Hear Their Rule. When we work in Africa and Sierra Leone, Kenya, Uganda, wherever, it's never feeling that an adult is a perpetrator. So even if you're in a school with teachers who are using the cane in front of your face, and maybe we don't agree with children being caned, I certainly don't, obviously, never seeing that adult as a perpetrator, in as much as that adult has no other options. They're working through what they know, through what they've experienced, and through how things are. So it's everybody on a learning curve, everybody just coming together to brainstorm what's in the best interest of these children. What can we do that could be better, could be more helpful? in the way we discipline or in the way we parent or teach or anything. But yeah, I just think, as you say, if you went to your mum and were like, Mum, why? And she did the best she could with what she had. And
also she had no parents. She was, her parents were murdered. So she didn't have parents. She wasn't parented in order to be a parent.
Yeah.
Because she thought you were safe and had a good education, and that was the best.
As far as she was concerned, that was the best thing that she could give me.
Yeah,
absolutely. Right. We all have different ways. Yeah.
Did you react when you slightly turned on her and said, "Why did you send me away?" What was?
No, that was it. She just literally said, "Well, I didn't know what else to do," and I think. Because she'd remarried and she'd brought me into this world of, the music business where my stepfather and her were. And, I was 10 years old. And there we'd come from, I come from living with my grandparents in the northeast of England to then going into like this, with the biggest, pop stars in the world popping into the office. And, she was worried about that, how that would affect me, because it was crazy. It was a crazy lifestyle, and she wanted me to be separate from that. And she did that. I mean, great was when I used to come home for the holidays. I was the most popular girl in the school because everyone wanted to come and stay with me.
I'd have wanted to be your friend, Debbie. Definitely.
Yeah, exactly. But everybody did because of who we knew and who they represented.
Megan, you were actually a performer, weren't you? Or you were going to be?
Yeah, I worked in the industry up until I started fostering. So I did musicals. So Crazy for You, Sweeney Todd, and the like, and worked on cruise ships as singer, lead vocalist, and in the shows and things. It was just amazing. I loved it, loved every minute. And then when I was in my 30s, I thought, gosh, you know what? I've had such an amazing decade of performing and just loved every minute. And I always knew I wanted to probably foster at some point because of my childhood. It wasn't particularly the greatest. Like, luckily, as same as you, I've got one amazing parent. My mother is absolutely fantastic, but a lot of abuse from my dad. And I knew that if I was in a position where I could ever be the person that I needed, I'd want to do it. But you can't do theatre and foster at the same time when you're a single parent, because you've got no one to look after the kids. So I was like, oh no, I've got to make a choice. So yeah,
lovely that was something you wanted to do, and you just went and did it.
Well, yeah, it was.
Have helped so many kids. It's a wonderful thing you've done. Wonderful.
Oh, are you still in touch with all of them?
Oh my goodness, yes. Pretty much all of them now are out of the system. They're older, because I was fostering really traumatized older teenagers. So most of them are out of the system now. And yeah, I had 2 of them over for Christmas. One's actually he's from Poland. He's an orphan, so he doesn't have family. So I've just become his surrogate mum outside of fostering. And another girl who I fostered, she came for Christmas as well because she didn't have family to go to. So yeah, it's amazing. Once they've left, they stay in touch. They it's just brilliant. And there's like 8, 9, 10 others that stay in touch. They're doing their own thing, living their best lives. But yeah, there's WhatsApp group for all of them. It's expensive at Christmas.
So how many children have you fostered in total, would you say?
12. So yeah. Some of them.
Have you got one at the moment, Megan?
I don't have any at the moment. I quit fostering in October to go and really focus on the charity. So I don't have any anymore. But I wouldn't say I wouldn't go back into it at some point, maybe later on again.
Well, maybe you could foster all of us.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I don't know about that. That's too hard.
You'd be like herding kittens.
Megan, on your film, you had great big classrooms full of children, and you were using giant emojis on the walls for
Yeah.
emotions, getting everybody to identify. Haven't emojis just changed the world?
Oh my
They've just-
goodness. It's so, emojis just speak a universal language, don't they? So it doesn't matter whether you speak English or French or Creole or Mende, everyone understands emojis. And with the children in Sierra Leone, they have basically very few words for their emotions. Fine. Fine means everything from relaxed, carefree, excited, happy, sad, depressed. Fine. And it's really difficult if you're not nuanced with your emotions. You don't really know how to regulate, because you need different regulations for different feelings. So to be able to teach the kids, you know, kind of the main basic 10 emotions, and give them the language and give them the understanding of what they are, and go through, there's an acronym called RULER, which is recognize, understand, label, express, and regulate. So the way you need to express grief or sadness is probably different from the way you need to regulate fury or excitement if you get overexcited. So you need all these different regulations, but you don't know which one to do if you don't understand what you're feeling or why you're feeling it. So we do a lot of work with emotional intelligence with the adults and the children, because we think when the children get older, they're going to have that knowledge. So as parents and teachers themselves in the community, they're going to be able to go for different options rather than physical abuse to discipline. So yeah,
the way that the world is, especially within education, this is one of my bugbears, of course, is that unless you are deemed you know, good at English, maths, or art or something at school, you're just deemed, you know, unintelligent. But in fact, you could be extremely much more intelligent than the whole class, because you're not part of the normal thing. You're just not normal. And I think that's very, very important, that we shouldn't pigeonhole people. And I wonder if outside cultures, and this is a question actually that I've never even thought about before, but now you're going to answer it for me. Do outside cultures work the same way with intelligence as we do here?
I think they do. I mean, I don't know all cultures, but certainly from what I've been looking around in Africa, that it is based in English, maths and science, and you get those education things. And actually your emotional intelligence and your mental health are completely dismissed. There is no such thing as, you know, kind of having a chat with a child. It's just get the cane out and deal with the situation, you know. And I totally agree with what you're saying. I got diagnosed as being autistic when I was 40. So I'd lived my whole life. I couldn't go to school and never understood why I couldn't go to school. It was just too much for me. Luckily, back then it was in the days where your parents didn't have to go to jail or get fined. But I didn't go to school. However, I passed all my exams. I'm in Mensa. My intelligence is there, but I couldn't cope with the structure of a school. It was too noisy, too vibrant, too busy, too much stimulation going on. But so I was always seen as like the naughty kid, the bad kid, the girl who can't be bothered, rude a lot, all of those kind of things that you kind of struggle with your whole life, going, gosh, I'm not this, and I don't know why I'm coming across as this. When I got my autism diagnosis, it just all clicked. It's like, yeah.
How did you suddenly get diagnosed at 40? That's incredible.
Well, I had been really struggling. So I think it was 2019, really struggling that summer, and just thought, my goodness, I need antidepressants. You know, I can't do this anymore. And went to the doctor, and my doctor actually turned around and said, you don't need antidepressants. I think you're autistic. You know,
Fabulous doctor.
So, right. Me being me, said, whatever, I'm not autistic, just give me the depressants, you know, antidepressants, I just want them. And she said, I'll give you them if you get a diagnosis, you know, and if you're not autistic, I'll give you them. So I was like, fine. I went privately because I just needed it to be done quick. So paid to go privately, and goodness me, it was it's not comfortable. The assessment is not comfortable at all. And at the end of it, you get the report, and yeah, there was a whole load of things that then made complete sense to me on why I didn't fit in necessarily. And yeah, it was amazing. So good on my doctor, I say. part of it which is theory of mind, and I'd always struggled with understanding, if I've got a thought and someone else has got a different thought, how can you possibly not agree with me? What's wrong with you? And in my report, it came back as I must have really expressed my opinions weren't the same as the psychiatrist, because they were like, she does not have a very good theory of mind. But then once I knew, I could then go and learn and study and figure out what this theory of mind is, or even sensory issues. Once I realize I can't go to pubs, I'm not very good in big situations, which is why with Here They're Raw, I've got a team who actually go and do work. I don't, I'm so sorry about my dog barking. I've got a team who, Lenny, come here. I've got a team who'd actually do the work, because I can't cope that long in a school, obviously, of 120 kids in a room or whatever. I find it struggle. So yeah, so it's being able to make reasonable adjustments around, so you can still do your passion and you can still do what you you can do, but make it work.
You could actually perform, you could actually sing in front of people, and that doesn't faze you. But maybe communicating to a group of 120 kids, I can understand that's pretty daunting, but how amazing that you could actually be a performer.
Yeah, I think there's so many neurodiverse people in the arts, because you're someone else. So I never felt that I was me going out, is a lot of anxiety. But when you can have that performer brain and you can kind of put on your stage makeup and go out and be something else, it's so freeing. And I think that's why I love performing, because you could be the beggar woman one day in Sweeney Todd, or in whatever you're doing, and it's just, oh god, goodness, it's such an amazing experience to put yourself aside and just be the creation. So yeah, it's
well, on that note, we're going to say we have loved talking to you. You've been so inspiring and wonderful. And yes, good luck with everything, and come back and see us soon.
Thank you so much. I will. I really appreciate it. I've loved this. Thank you.
Your energy and your enthusiasm and your wonderful smile.
Oh, thank you.
The rest of the day, if not for longer.
I've absolutely loved it. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, darling, so much.
Bye, darling.
We'll see you soon.
Yes, absolutely.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye. Isn't she just fabulous?
Lovely. Honestly, there's something about her spirit which was so inspiring. Wow.
I know. As soon as I met her, actually, I thought that
Where did you meet her, Dee?
I met her at David David Grant.
Oh, David and Carrie Grant. Yeah.
Yes, she's a friend of theirs, and actually, she told me that she'd taken one of her foster children back when she'd left home, back recently to have lunch with them, because they were part of her sort of development and with the music and everything. And I just thought she just was so interesting and so lovely.
No, absolutely.
And I'm so glad that she came on, and because I think it's really inspiring for people to watch, and also if people want to foster as well.
Yeah, I agree totally. Well, we'd love to say thank you to Brushenka and to Natalie for being wonderful.
It's been a joy. I didn't quite know what to expect, but it's been great. Thank you.
It is, and you are coming back for our special Valentine's edition.
Yeah,
aren't you? Yes, with the gorgeous Tim Bentinck from the Archers and everything else. Yes, he's coming in. He's going to be your Valentine present from me.
Lovely. Thank you. I'm in love with his voice. Thank you.
See you later.
See you later. See you next week. Bye.
Bye.